guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be doing something a bit different. That is, we're going to be covering a video on Anthem, and it's going to be a video all about what we know up to yet on it. So obviously, as you know, as well, many of you will know, some of you might not, the VIP demo is coming up this month. I think it's on the 25th of Jan, and the open demo starts on the 1st of Feb. So everyone can access it then and have a bit of a dabble and see if they like it or not. And if you have pre-ordered it, more than likely you will have access to the VIP demo starting on the 25th of Jan. I need to double check them dates, but I'm pretty sure that's when it is. Anyway guys, the official release date is the 22nd of February, but again, if you pre-order it, you get access to it a week earlier, which means you should have access to it from the 15th of Feb. I will be playing it and I will be covering it. Anyway, without going into too much detail on that, I'm going to get into about what we know. So I want to start off about the story and the area that the game's going to be around, basically. So the main social area is called Fort Tarsis. That is where you will be going back to in between missions. What we do know about Fort Tarsis is that it is a single player only area. You will not be able to go in there with your friends as far as we know. That is so that certain decisions that are influenced that you make don't affect anyone else that you might be playing with. Doesn't mean that you can't do missions together, it just means that when you enter Fort Tarsis you will be alone again to hand in the missions and do the conversation alignments, etc. The open world, once you leave Fort Tarsis, the main threat is the wildlife and your rivals, or the rivals to Fort Tarsis, I should say, which is the Dominion. Now, the reason that there are rivals is because they have apparently found a way to use what they're calling the Anthem of Creation, hence why the name's called Anthem, because possibly endgame thing leads to the Anthem of Creation. They've found a way to weaponize it and basically turn the face of war onto the freelancers and Fort Tarsis. So obviously that will be our job, is to find out how they've managed to do that, why they'd want to do that, and to stop them eventually. Now, Anthem of Creation, what is it? Well, basically, the planet we're on and we're defending is a planet that has been tarnished by the gods, basically. It has been abandoned by them, they've died or whatever, and they've left behind all the tools of creation. And the Anthem of Creation is like the lead thing in order to control all these tools that have been left behind, which you'll see all over the planet. So that is what we know up to yet on the story. Your character is a freelancer, which means basically he gets paid to go out on jobs and do missions, and to upgrade his armour, of course. And it's basically down to you and other freelancers to stop the Dominion. Other than that, there's not much more, I don't think, that we know about the story, which is fair enough because we don't want it being spoiled. So without going on about that too much more, I'm going to start going on about the javelins, because obviously the javelins are going to be a big part of the game. It's going to be about what we're controlling. It's going to be us. So there are 4 javelins that we know of up to yet. You've got the Interceptor, the Ranger, the Colossus, and the Storm. Now, we've only seen so much gameplay of the Storm, and I think we've only seen so much of the Interceptor. So there's not too much that we know about them. But the Ranger we know is going to be the all-out balance class. So it can do a bit of everything, but it's going to be mainly focusing on up-close combat. Then you have the Colossus, which we know is the tanky of the javelins, the one to take the damage and deal the damage sort of thing. But it is very slow and very bulky, so therefore it doesn't focus on aerial combat and stuff like that. It focuses on the ground and using things like mortar abilities. We do know a little bit on the Storm, in the fact that it's a build that looks to be focused on in the air abilities, and it might use certain things like electrical and storm, like literally its name's Storm, and it might use some sort of storm abilities to influence the field of battle. The Interceptor seems to be a melee focus javelin. Don't hold me to that, but from the gameplay I've watched and the Stronghold I watched him go through, everything seemed to be about melee attacks. The combos, everything. So there are your 4 javelins and what we know about them as of yet. On top of the way they play, what we do know is that you are going to have some of the biggest personalization options I have seen in a game to date, guys. Because when I say that you could spend days just trying to personalize your javelin, it's ridiculous. The personalization stream I was just shocked with. It's 40 minutes long. That's how much effort they've put into being able to personalize your javelin. So basically, I don't want to go into too much detail about it because obviously 40 minutes is a long video. So I'm going to kind of break it down into what I feel is the essentials. So obviously you've got your paint, so you can paint it the colours you like, and you've got the solid colours, obviously. But on top of that, you've got metallic colours. You've got certain patterns to each piece of your armour. Not only that, but each piece of your armour can be a different colour. It's not like it's a set colour based on the first one you choose. So your arms can be a different colour, your chest, your helmet, all different ones if you want them to be. Same with the patterns. You can apply a different pattern to each different part of your armour if you wanted to. The only thing I will say is the metallic colours stay metallic, so you can only have things like bronze, silver or gold. They don't really range from that, and they just said that basically there was a lot of issues and it kind of removed the effect if you went for anything other than those colours. On top of that, you then have something called vinyls. Now, I didn't know what this was when they first mentioned it. I thought it was going to be something like set paint jobs or something along those lines, and in a way it kind of is. But what it is it's basically pre-built emblems, let's say, that apply a custom paint job to your javelin to show off that you've accomplished something specific. Like, for example, there is a Mass Effect vinyl, which basically gives you the N7 type paint job, which I thought was pretty cool. And there's others in there that I didn't recognise, but by the looks of it, there's going to be quite a few hundred. And then obviously I reckon they'll be all based on other EA games, as well as other potential games that they've got access to. The only other thing I can mention is you might be thinking, oh, well, it's a bit boring if you can't change out armour pieces. Well, you can. That is another personalisation option they've got, and that is why the Legion of Dawn armour set pre-order exists, because you can go into each armour piece and you can change the way it looks. But again, majority of these armour pieces will have to be unlocked, as far as we know, by doing certain things throughout the game. Challenges or story progression, something along those lines. They didn't go into too much detail on that because they said that basically they wanted to keep it as down on the down low as possible because a lot of things aren't confirmed, but they did say that a lot of the stuff that was in the personalization stream you won't have access to at first because it'll be based on progressing and unlocking those options. Now, talking about progressing, I want to go into the progression side of the game. How do we gear up? How do we level up? How does it work? Right, so I'm going to go into the freelancer at first because your javelins don't level up. Your pilot levels up. So again, it's more focused on the actual character himself and not the exosuits. So you will basically start at level 1. You'll go through a tutorial javelin and you will get your first javelin at pilot level 2, if I am correct. Basically, they've announced this on Twitter. They said things may change, but that is how it works at the moment. And that is when you'll get your first javelin at level 2. Now, as your pilot level, each time he cycles this phase, it means that you do even more damage if you're stood with that paired guardian. Now, he'll do this 3 times in a DPS phase, which means you will need to change over with another guardian so that you don't tether each other, which is what happens when you stood in a circle with somebody that's got a different debuff. So if you're tethered, you know that you stood in the wrong place. Now, if it goes smoothly and you all end up stood in the right circles together with each other, you'll get the empowering buff from being paired, and it means you'll do probably about 200k per shot with your Whisper. Now, is it possible to one-phase him? Yes. Is it easier to do it that way? Possibly not, because of how much coordination it takes. You're spending a few seconds during the DPS phase just organising yourself. The easiest way we found to do it was to stand on the ground below where the vandals and the snipers couldn't get you as easily. Now, once you've done that and the boss stops the DPS phase, it's a case of simply rinse and repeating the charges to get to the DPS phase again, Guardians. It took us a good few hours to get this down because it does take a lot of coordination, especially in the DPS phase. The charges are simple, the DPS phase is chaotic. So make sure you're coordinated and you know where to stand so that you're not interfering with each other and you're not getting tethered.
That's my only advice I can give you on that one, Guardians, and that is the final encounter over and done with. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you did, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that like button. I'll catch you next time, Guardians.
Have a very, very set perk on top of those inscriptions. So let's get into the primary way of how you're going to grind for this gear. So while you're leveling, it'll obviously be random drops and completing missions. But as you get towards the end game, you will need to do dungeons to get the best sort of gear. And not only that, but again, the inscriptions are going to be random rolls, which means there's going to be that grind to it in order to get multiple rolls of different weapons. Now, as good as that sounds, there is a way that you can cheat it, but it's down to a crafting system. Now, I was absolutely buzzing when they told me that there's a crafting system, because it's the one thing I feel that the main game I play, Destiny, is missing. A crafting system is a great thing to have, it adds another aspect to grind for. So basically, the way the crafting system works is you are going to get blueprints from completing dungeons. Those blueprints will allow you to craft and craft and craft that weapon at your current level for different roles of inscriptions. So notice how I said at your level. These blueprints don't drop level specific. What happens is, as you level up, that blueprint levels up with you. So if you've got a blueprint at level 2, which I don't know if it's going to be possible yet, I don't know, that blueprint will level up with you all the way to level 20. So when you get to level 20, you can craft that weapon again from that blueprint, and it'll be level 20. I thought that was a great way to have created the blueprints, because it means there's no consistent grinding to have to get blueprints. So I'm buzzing about that. So let me get into the inscriptions now. So obviously I've mentioned inscriptions a few times now. What are they? Well, as you can imagine, it's just basically extra perks on a weapon, and it's perks such as in-flight bonus time, which makes that you're able to basically float in the air for longer in order to create a sort of aerial build if you wanted to. Because basically when you're flying, you have a little bar that's like an energy and it runs out. These perks will increase that in air time. You have then things like increased explosive damage, you have extended burn time, all these sort of different perks, and it means that you can build a build that is going to focus on around one area of damage or set ability, so that you can. They basically said that you're going to need to do this in order to be able to solo any sort of end game harder content, because this leads me on to the next thing. As you're going through the story, there will be 3 original difficulties: Lancer, Freelancer, and I can't remember the other one. But after that, it goes on to Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. But you won't get access to Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3 until you've progressed far enough. Now, what's the point of doing these different difficulties? Well, it basically means that you get a chance at a higher reward loot pool. So better weapons, legendary tier, etc. So that's how the end game's going to work. It's going to basically, you complete dungeons on harder difficulties in order to get better blueprints, better legendary gear, etc. And materials for crafting these better blueprints, for as far as I know, you can gather via open world, but they also mentioned that your inventory space will be limited, so it's not a case of keeping hold of everything, but you can dismantle gear that you don't want to get extra crafting materials. So that's the way that's going to probably work. So everything in your inventory, don't sell it, don't trash it, dismantle it. That is my bit of advice there for you on that, guys. Other than that, guys, there's not much more, I don't think, that I've missed. That has pretty much been an overview of everything there for you guys. And I've just found the extra tier. It's Lancer, Freelancer, Master, then Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. So that does pretty much cover it, guys. There's not much more I don't think I've missed. I will be covering videos on things within Anthem, guides on how to do things, maybe secrets that are in the game, because we don't know if there is any yet. But you know, just if you're going to be playing Anthem and you want to be knowing how to do things, make sure to drop by my channel and I'll make sure I'll find out how to do it for you guys. Anyway, guys, if you found this video helpful and you enjoyed watching, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you think I've missed anything, feel free to fire it in the comments below, because at the end of the day, the more I know, the more I can try and help you guys. Hope you've enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you next time. Right way, gaming, over and out.